It was kind of tanked. Whoops. There's a couple other get character variable, get numeric variable. There's a variables table that holds like the maximums and things that you can upgrade to. So it's just an easy way to get that value. And get player ID and get player username, you're going to use those a lot if you write some queries based on the events table, or if you want to figure out who someone is that's attacking you. Other key views that you might find interesting, I talked about ships in range. Again, you can't see other ships in your My Ships table because it's not the Your Ships table, it's the My Ships table. So if you use the ships in range, then you can actually see other ships around you. The My Ships flight recorder is just kind of neat, really. It's actually completely useless, but if you wanted to graph out and see where all your ships went, then it's kind of fun. Finally, there's also online players, obviously what it is. Current stats just gives how many planets have been conquered, how many ships total are in the system, how many players are online, how many players are in the system, etc., etc. So it just, how much money is in the system too. So it just kind of gives you a benchmark to see how you're doing. You can't really see very much about how anyone else is doing in the game, but you can see the overall stats, so you can kind of guess how well you're doing off that. And then there's the public variable table, again, that I mentioned, which you can just use those functions to grab. So finally, fleet scripts. This is where the game actually gets super cool. At least in my opinion, I might have a weird sense of cool. Basically, a fleet script allows you to automate all the gameplay for you. Because I love SQL. If you're sitting in this room, you're either my friends or you like SQL as well. But you don't want to be writing SQL for the next 72 hours to win a contest. Because we're at DEFCON. DEFCON is a little bit more fun than doing that constantly. So how do you actually do this, and how does it work? Well, if you insert into your My Fleets table and give it a name, it's first start. If you update your My Fleets table with the script declarations column and the script column, and then enable it, what's going to happen is it's going to take those sections there, which you can see for this one, I'm taking all of the ships within range and attacking the crap out of them. The system will take that data you just updated into those columns and then create a function out of it. So you can see this will be called fleet underscore script underscore 9 because we updated fleet script ID equals 9. The declarations go under declare, and the scripts go under begin. Just in case nothing does get returned, we've got a quick little return 1 at the end there. If you wanted to return something so it makes you feel better, it's fine, do so. So now you've just got this function, which isn't really doing a lot. It makes it easier because now you don't have to rewrite the scripts every time, you just call them. But if you want that to happen automatically for you every tick, you can do that. The script that controls all the ticks is tick.pl. Tick.pl is just one of my dirty little Perl scripts, and it will actually connect as your user and run that function on your behalf every single tick. To do so, you just have to buy a minimum of 1 minute of processing time for it, which is 10 million. They're expensive because time is money. And you have to set it to enabled. The enabled is really just for your own little reference, so if you wanted something to stop, then you could do so. If your script runs past that 1 minute, everything's canceled, gets reverted back, and you just lose what you did. So you have to keep it within that 1 minute or buy another minute onto it. To buy any time for it, you just use the upgrade function again. You pass it the fleet ID, and you pass it fleet runtime as the code, and then you can specify the quantity. So this would buy 1 more minute for my fleet 9. So obviously you don't necessarily see what's happening in the fleet because you're not running it. So if there's been any problems, you just notice I'm not getting any money. This is kind of sucks. So I have actually made a way where you can see what's going on too. PostgreSQL has a notify system built into it, and I utilize that to use that error channel that I threw in your my players. Any errors that your script will have will be piped to that. So if you type listen and add your error channel, every time you run a SQL query, within the results payload, it's going to include any new errors that you've had in that queue. I also wrote a super insecure Python script which you shouldn't run from the DEFCON network because you will be on the wall of sheep. There's no SSL on it. If you want to download the script, it's on schemaverse.com. If you have some server off DEFCON that you feel more comfortable using, then it's fine to use it. It's not a big deal. But please don't use it here. Here's a little example of what it looks like. It's dead simple. It's the schemaverse output stream, or SOS, and it'll just list anything that's going on. There's also a couple other things in the system that will notify here, not just fleet scripts, but anytime move fails or things like that, it just gives it here. I did have an error table at first, but after 10 million records in a couple days, it didn't seem like a good idea to continue. So, this is DEFCON. Security in this game. As I mentioned earlier, most people's response was don't. But hopefully, I think it might last. It lasted the first night, so I'm pretty happy about that. Architecture-wise in the game, as I said, you are users. So the players are users in the system. Then you've got the database, and then you've got the 2 Perl scripts. And I didn't really talk about the 1 Perl script yet, but I'll get to it. And that's really all the system is. So what was I worried about when writing this game? Well, query limits was the first one. All it takes is one person to run a couple queries of generate series 1 to infinity, and then no one could ever have another query actually run on the system. So I needed to find a way to stop that. Obviously, authentication is a bit of an issue. Luckily, I've got super secure MD5 going on. That was the best I could do. SQL injections, obviously a problem, although admittedly at first I thought, well, a user can only do what they have the ability to do on the system. And I kind of forgot a key fact of there was another higher power user controlling some things. And finally, Postgres exploits and quirks. I don't really know what the next 0 day is for Postgres. If it happens this weekend, I have things logging, so I hope I find it. As I mentioned earlier, most communities were less than helpful on pretty much all of this. I think the one response I got was use SSL. So someone connects securely to my box and then destroy it. So I was really happy about that. So the basics that I kind of went on. Basically, as far as the actual gameplay goes, almost everything in the game is based off of player ID equals get player ID session user. Session user is just a variable, system variable in Postgres, that's who's connecting. So because you're a user and it connects to your my players table, that's how I figure out what you're allowed to do. And all the views, all the triggers, everything's based off that. Which gets me to the next thing. How do I control data? It's basically just as I would hope you would develop your regular application security within your database. I use roles to make sure that users should only do what users can do and can only see what they should be able to see. Triggers and functions control most of the data changes that users don't have direct access to update. Rules do the same, I should say. And then views just make sure you can only see what you're supposed to see. Again, you shouldn't be able to see where other players' ships are, so that's just dumb. I did enable SSL, because I do want people to connect securely and destroy my box. Well, I'd rather they win, but I'd rather someone not find the username. And finally, availability, which was those query limits that generate series. Postgres has a very, very helpful variable within the configuration called set query timeout or statement timeout. Perfect. I thought this is exactly what I needed. No query should last longer than a minute, was my original thought. So I set that up, and then I played around. And I found out that every single user who connects to Postgres has the ability to type set statement timeout equals 0. This is one of the things where I'm talking about pushing database systems a little bit. How is that acceptable? When you have something that you configure as a security measure, and any user, can connect and run a statement to set it to infinity. Didn't make any sense? That's where ref.pl comes into play. It's just another Perl script that monitors all the processes running and will kill anything that's surpassed its time limit. It's actually a lot more dynamic than the statement would have been, because now I can let people buy more processing time if they actually need it. And make less. I don't like them. So, Here's a little fun example of SQL injections that I thought, again, oh, it's fine. They're a player, they can only do so many things. That was really dumb. So in that fleet creation script, where you take what you've updated the fleets table to be, and then thrown it into the actual table itself, or then that gets taken out, put into the function. You see script declaration gets put there, and then the new script. I hope you can see the problem with this. Not only can someone privilege escalate their script, the function that they're creating to be security definer. Security definer in Postgres means the administrator is now running this basically, or the person who created the function, which only schemaverse itself has the ability to do. Now your fleet script is going to run as schemaverse every time. So I've got a nice little update player set balance equals 0. I may want to specify except me, but you get the gist of it. But not only that, after that, by inserting more nice code, I actually rewrite the move function as well. Because why not? I certainly have the ability, so I can send every player backwards if I want, or I can make the move function more convoluted. Great. So this was a bit of a problem. And I wasn't really sure how to fix it. I still don't know if I have fixed it, but I like my solution. I just added a secret. So let me go back to that quickly. Right underneath the initial create and replace, you have fleet_script. It's just a quick string declaration to say this is where it starts, this is where it ends. To fix this, I just made that random. If you don't know how to end the script, then you can't forcefully stop it. The error, or the actual creation will just error out. Now, I have had people with ideas come to me and say, well, what if I find a way to just make it so that I throw an exception, and then my exception does something? I have no idea if this works. If someone here wants to play around with it, again, it's DEFCON. It certainly can. So some final words on security. I hope that if someone does find a bug in this that can destroy it, instead of destroying it, they use it to win. Because if you can win this game through fairly unnecessarily good ways, it's DEFCON. Full respect to you, you win. I have no problem with that. So my only deterrent is the fact that this year at DEFCON, running the first ever Schemaverse tournament, I do have prizes. So if at the end of it, someone does drop database Schemaverse, then no one wins my prizes, and they're actually pretty good. I have backups, but I don't, once it goes down, I'm not sure if there's going to be time to fix it. I might be too drunk. But we'll see how it goes. So the tournament did start yesterday. Although in everyone's manual, I think it says the tournament starts tomorrow. But the tick actually, like, the game can take a while to play. Usually it's played over a week. I've tried to tweak it a little bit to be a 3-day game. So here we are. It does end at Sunday at noon. Registration, if you want to come play, and I really hope that some people here do, it's going to be in the contest area. Just come find us, register, and then you're good to go. I have no idea how many users this will support. I've played with probably about 15 different players, and it's gone pretty good. I don't know if there's going to be more than that here. I don't know if they're kind of going to be more power users. We'll see how it goes. At some point, I may have to limit it if I see it starting to slow down, because as I mentioned, the tick won't end until everyone's scripting is done, and a tick will never start until that first one is finished. So if I get 100 players, then that's 140 minutes worth of processing time if everyone takes up their limit that they get off the beginning. So there can be a fairly long time, which normally a tick would last 1 minute. So my prizes.